everybody knew I wanted surgery. A select few knew about the plastics pathway. But no, from the beginning, I mean, I was in the surgery club.
What does it take to get into the residency of your dreams when it seems like all the odds are stacked against you? My name is John Arshadi, and I want to welcome you to the Road to Residency podcast. This is the show where we break down inspiring personal journeys of passionate physicians who had the courage and the commitment to take purposeful action to achieve their goals and serve their communities. Hello, champions, and welcome to yet another episode of the Road to Residency podcast. My name is John Arshadi, and today I'm here with Dr. Danielle Ward, author of the blog Aspiring Minority Doctor, and also her new book, Atypical Premed, a non-traditional student's guide to applying to med school. Dr. Ward defied all odds, starting out as a minority female and single mom with a GPA of 2.2 to matching into the highly coveted specialty of plastic surgery this year. And I'm not sure who's more excited, me hearing her story again or her telling it, because trust me, it's phenomenal. Danielle, welcome to the show and congratulations once again on such an amazing achievement.
Thank you. And thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
You're welcome, and I'm excited to have you. So let's dive a little bit into your story. It's very interesting. Let's backtrack to when you were a single mom in undergrad and start from there. What happened?
Okay, so I went to Louisiana State University, go Tigers, for undergrad. I had my daughter my sophomore year of college while I was there. So life got a lot interesting. Started off as a chemistry major, ended up taking the wrong physics, so switched to biochemistry. And then going into college, I already had a college GPA just because after high school, I grew up military. So by the time I made it to my final state for high school, I had enough credits to graduate, but they wouldn't let me. So I actually started at Kennesaw State University and then started college with that. But yeah, it was an interesting journey. Worked a few jobs. I mean, my GPA took a hit just because, I was a mom. I was working multiple jobs. Right. I was a student worker, coffee barista. I did everything. But it was a great experience to be there.
Good. And how was that transition from there into your master's and then into medical school?
So I graduated in 2009. I was very proud to graduate with my class. That was one thing. I started in 2005. I was like, I don't care that I've had a kid. I will finish on time. And then after that, I had applied to medical school while I was in college, didn't get accepted. It took me 5 years, 3 application cycles before I eventually got accepted. But following graduation, I was lucky enough to get a job as a research associate in parasitology and immunology. We were working on vaccine for a neglected tropical disease. And that was a 5-year grant. So it gave me enough time to do research, but still continue to apply to medical school. And then in that time, I was able to get into a master's degree. It was online biochemistry through University of St. Joseph in West Hartford, Connecticut. And that allowed me to continue my research, continue making money, and get the degree in the meantime. So there were a lot of things I was always juggling there.
And I love that. I respect that because, you did so much, having to take care of a child as well. I have a son myself, and I don't know how to manage my time. So I commend you for that.
And you don't have a choice. It gets a lot easier to make that decision.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk a little bit about medical school. You chose to do DO, right?
Yes, I am a proud doctor of osteopathic medicine. For me, I didn't really care about the initials after my name, so I applied to both MD and DO schools. I got one interview, one acceptance. That was at Philadelphia College of Osteopathic Medicine, Georgia campus. And, they made me the doctor I am today. But medical school is a great experience. So for me, because I grew up military, so I've moved everywhere. I never had I was in 4 different states for high school. 3 different states, but 4 different schools. And so when I got to medical school, that was the first time I had a group of people who I was going to be with for 4 years, learning together. So that was my first time having that experience. But it's an adjustment for anyone. Looking back now, I always say it's not that the material is hard. It's how much they throw at you is the adjustment of trying to handle that. For me, I was a little bit unique because in addition to studying and trying to handle all that, I also had to go home and still be a mom and figure out, okay, how do I study? How do I spend time with my child? So yeah, the first year was a little rough, but made it through.
And during your studies, did you ever face any of the stigma between DO and MD? Explain to me a little bit about that.
So I think as a pre-med, there's more of a stigma than once you're in it. I've noticed like a lot of people, because I'd be on like, websites where they're like, oh, DO, what's that? But it's all pre-medical side. Once you're in medical school, no one cares, especially when I was on my rotations. I remember, I think I was on a surgery rotation and my preceptor, who was an MD, he was just like, I don't understand, like, what's the difference?
Yeah.
And and to be honest with people, in medical school, the only difference is we have more training in that we get the osteopathic manipulative therapy. So you're with your classmates half naked, doing manipulations, you're studying for that. And that differs. And then, me having traveled around as a medical student, because I was national president of the Student National Medical Association, I saw the difference in that, the MD students had more time to study for boards per se, whereas with our extra training, we had to incorporate that. But really, outside of the approach, we're all the same. We're a physician at the end of the day. So
absolutely.
There's not much stigma once you're in there, but I know coming in, people are like, what's a DO? That's,
right.
And
because it was fairly new. Yeah. Do you think in the match process, when they combined everything together, do you think it became easier or harder for DOs to get into residency? Because I know before they had their own special programs as well.
So we did. And as someone who, didn't match the first time or the first couple of times. So the first time I went through the match was before the merger happened. I don't know if it necessarily hurt us, because what people don't understand is DOs have been applying to MD residency programs for decades. We've never been shut out of those programs. So, if you look at some MD programs, you'll always see a DO. It's just when the merger happened, it made it easy for us. MDs couldn't come into our programs, but we could always go into theirs. Now, they could come into ours. It makes things a little bit more competitive. Right. But I don't think it hurt us so much when it happened. We were already applying anyway.
Yeah. And that's what I was asking. With more MDs coming into the DO programs, if there was like extra competition, maybe it'll, but I guess it worked out for everybody, right?
Yeah, I know some programs, they would like, for the MDs coming in to have some of the OMM training. It's program specific. Others, just focus on scores. So it makes it harder if, you have the stellar, the Harvard grads with the 270, whatever, board scores. But like I said, DOs have always been taking both USMLE Complex. We've been applying at both residencies. It's basically more work as a DO, but for the same outcome.
For sure. And did you know from the very beginning that you wanted to go into surgery, and specifically plastic surgery?
Yes. So the thing with plastic surgery is early on, my mentors were like, don't mention it. And a lot of them came from the traditional pathway of general surgery to plastics. And they said they faced a lot of flashback from directors who, they might have had residents who left the program, the general surgery, to go to plastics. So they were just like, be quiet, don't say anything. So everybody knew I wanted surgery. A select few knew about the plastics pathway. But no, from the beginning, I was in the surgery clubs. I was national liaison. Like I was involved. So First year I had my surgery shirt on. They knew it.
Nice. And so you graduated in 2018, right? Yeah. So walk us through what happened from 2018 till now 2021. I know you applied for match a couple times and unfortunately didn't make it.
Yes.
Tell us that story.
So 2018, so I applied. That was as a graduating senior medical student. Did not match, but that was before the merger happened. So now that there's a merger, when people don't match, they go through the SOAP process where you submit applications and you wait for them to contact you. Pre-merger, there was a DO scramble where if you didn't match, you spent the day calling every single program that had a spot in the country, interviewing on the phone. So I just remember how devastating that was. I remember being on the phone with programs and they were like, well, why not consider our internal medicine program? And I was like, I don't want that. Some were like, you need to sign this contract within 1 hour. But where I ended up signing a contract for a traditional rotating internship was what my main campus of my institution, Philadelphia College of Osteopathic Medicine. And Pennsylvania, because they were just like, you know what, take a couple days, figure it out. And I really respected that. And I told them, hey, I want surgery. I can only do this if you're going to give me at least 9 to 10 months of straight surgery. And they were willing to do that. So 2018, I ended up matching into a TRI in general surgery. So I moved to Pennsylvania. I did a year of basically surgery. 2019 comes, did not match again after applying. So that was devastating, but I always have a backup plan on how to get to my goals. So, by December of intern year, I knew, hey, I need to take my boards now. I need to, plan to get my license. So I already had that plan that I was going to get my full license. And then when I didn't match, I was like, okay, I'm going to go in urgent care. So moved back to Georgia. And that's what I've been doing for almost 2 years. But I reapplied this year, having the funds to really apply, and it was successful.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, congratulations once again. It's
Thank
awesome.
you.
So I know you told me that you used to be the head of a national organization and you were heavily involved in your medical school. How did it feel after not being able to match those first couple of attempts? How did you cope with that? And what did you tell people?
Yeah, I think that was the hardest part for me, is because I was so visible. I mean, what people don't understand is, I was national president of the Student National Medical Association. I was the first osteopathic medical student to ever be national president of that. I got like student doctor of the year from my school. I got the highest medal offered to any student from my school. So it wasn't like I was a bad student. I passed my boards. I honored my rotations, so not matching when it happened to me. And then especially being a blogger, being active on social media, people were like, what happened? And it's just like, I don't know. So, and it happens. There are more medical students graduating and applying to residency programs than there are slots. And so, people talk about a shortage of physicians. That's not the issue. It's, we're just not getting into these slots. So people are going to go unmatched. And I think it's important for people to realize that this is a true possibility of, you might not match, but how are you going to make it happen in the end? Right.
And what did you learn over the multiple attempts? What did you make better? Was there anything where you thought to yourself, oh, I wish I knew this the first time around?
Well, reflecting back this year, and I recently wrote on the blog, the biggest change I made was applying to as many programs as possible. Mm-hmm. But, that's not something I could have done as a medical student or as a broke intern. It's just now, I'm making attending money. But the process isn't geared towards people who don't have a lot of money to apply, unfortunately. And I don't know a way around that. They don't tell you coming in how much the cost of everything medical school related, boards, interviews, pre-COVID, traveling for interviews, paying for your hotels. So the biggest change this year was actually just saying, you know what, I'm applying everywhere, but not everybody has that option, unfortunately. Right. And I wish we could change the system, but right now I don't know how.
I wish we could change the system too. That's something that I'm trying to work on. Not by myself, but one man can't change anything. Yeah. But
but it's unfortunate. You have all these bright people, they're ready to go into the work field, and then they can't. And it's devastating to I was fortunate that I got, an intern position, but there are people who don't get that. And then as a physician who can't get a license, that's what do you do? And so.
And I think medicine is the only profession in the US and anywhere. Well, actually abroad, we don't have this problem, but in the US, medicine is the only profession where you could devote half of your life towards something and still every year, there's a pool of 14,000 people that are left unmatched. And so what do? Right. So we got to think of ways as a community to, get those people into their profession. Right?
And it's not like you could go to a regular job because you're overqualified. Yeah. So.
Yeah, that's the dilemma that we're put in, for those of us who are unmatched. It's like you're underqualified to do your job, but overqualified to do anything else. So you're stuck in a limbo, and it's a worse place to be.
Yeah. So one day I'll find a way to make a change to that. I hope.
Yeah, we'll do it together. How's that?
Sounds good.
Good. All right. I want to talk a little bit about, what you've been doing with your blog and your book, because it's a huge inspiration for a lot of people. So the name of your blog is Aspiring Minority Doctor. And when did you start that, and how did you come up with the idea?
So I started that in December of 2013. I had just been accepted into medical school that November. I was looking around, I wanted to find single mothers who had made it through medical school, people who might have had lower stats, because from the beginning, people were saying, you'll never make it through medical school as a single mom with your GPA, you'll never pass your boards. There's always been people telling me what I can't do. And so I couldn't find that. And then as a DO, I was like, are there any like DOs? And I was just like looking around and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to start a blog, be that example. I did start highlighting, minority women in osteopathic medicine. I found a few, so those were on the blog, but basically it's just been sharing my journey as a single mother, going through medical school, then through residency, then, beyond in the process. So I share my highlights, I share my low points, but you get it all. Just so people know that, there's someone out there.
For sure. Yeah, we all need somebody out there. Good. And so that blog inspired your new book.
Yes. Oh, wait, actually, I have it.
You have it? Oh, great.
I don't know if you can see it, but Atypical Premed. Yes. And it was because, as a pre-medical student, I didn't have a lot of guidance. And so a lot of my blog were people asking me questions about how do I do this? What extracurriculars do I need? How do I get my GPA up? So a lot of my blog, I converted into a book just because I was getting tired of all the emails when I'm just like, it's on my blog. Right. So now it's in one area for pre-medical students. So it's not as hard for them as it was for me, a little guidance.
Absolutely. That's great. And where can they pick this up? Any bookstore?
Yes, it's available at any major book retailer, Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, Target, Walmart. Everyone pretty much has it.
Excellent. All right. So for those of you who might have not heard it the first time around, Atypical Premed, a non-traditional student's guide to medical school.
Applying to medical school.
Applying to medical school. Excuse me. So yeah, go check out that book. If you have a child or you are somebody who is applying for medical school, definitely check that book out.
Yeah, and it's not just for, people with I know I say non-traditional, but basically it could apply to anyone. I've had people who were career changers from attorney to medical school or military, even men. So it benefits a lot of people.
Absolutely. Glad to hear it. So what is some of the advice that you could give our listeners who are in the same position where, they might be a single mom or a mother that has multiple children, very busy throughout the day working, still needs to, get through her board exams, or men in the same situation for that matter? What advice do you give them for time management?
I mean, your network and support system is going to be everything. That's what people don't realize. I know when I started medical school, I was coming in, single mother, had no family nearby, but my classmates were great. That's one thing. I mean, they would babysit for me so I could go to lab. So just not being afraid to ask for help if you need it. When it comes to, time management, I think it's easier for parents to navigate the medical school system as that, because you don't have a choice. Like, you still have to spend time with your child. You still have to study. But it's harder for people who might not have any responsibilities. They, come home. It's like, I've been in class all day. I just want to chill and watch Netflix, so really it's just developing your study habits. That should be key for anyone. And then really focusing and figuring out, like, how do I make time to do everything I want to do, but still have a little fun, because you don't want to get burnt out. Like, that's the hardest part of medical school, is focus, and not making any time for fun. So people neglect that a lot.
For sure.
I don't know if that helped.
Yeah, no, it does. And so what would you recommend for people who are taking the boards? What materials would they use, or how would they go about studying to make the most effective use of their time?
So don't get bogged down with study materials. That's key. I know going in, people will hit you with so many resources. I remember they were like, BRS, you need this. I had so many books that first time around, and really all I needed was like UWorld and Pathoma. It was just, keep it simple. Right. And everyone's going to have suggestions or advice of what works for them. Know your learning style. Know what helps you. Some people, they might be able to sit in class all day and absorb all that. Whereas, like, I'm a person who I have to do questions. That's how I get stuff in. So figure out your learning style and keep it simple. Don't use every single resource on the planet because you'll just overwhelm yourself.
For sure.
One of the most important things, because this is for road to residency, I know a lot of students like to focus on those first 2 years, or like, how do I get like straight A's, or depending on the school system. But I think the most important thing people need to realize are your rotations are going to be number one. And boards, even though I know USMLE is now being pass-fail, they're just going to focus on step 2. So keeping that in mind for students.
Yeah, great. And if there was one piece of advice, just like one thing that comes to mind for students, what would it be?
Enjoy the ride. Take it one day at a time. This journey is so incredible. Like medical school, those were some of the best years of my life. So I know everybody's focused on studying. They want to get into the residency they want, but really take time to enjoy it and have fun, because those moments won't come back.
Absolutely. And Danielle, would it be okay if people got in touch with you if they had any questions then
Yes, I'm always accessible. My email is aspiringminoritydoctor@gmail.com. My blog is aspiringminoritydoctor.com. And then my handles on Instagram and Twitter are Minority Doctor. So easy to remember. I respond to emails, just give me time.
Yeah, and we'll put all that in the show notes. So if you didn't catch it, you can just go to the show notes and reach out to her. If you have any other questions, you can reach out to me as well. Any of our guests, we're all more than willing to help. I think one of the biggest problems is people don't realize that there's a community of us who are willing to help and who are willing to mentor and get you to your goal. One of the purposes of this podcast is to tell people that, we are here for you. Just reach out to us and we'll be able to help you out.
Yes. And that's the key part, is reaching out. A lot of people expect mentors to reach out to them. You really gotta, be on them, because we're busy.
For sure.
So don't be afraid to badger. Yeah. I'm okay with that on my end.
Absolutely. All right. Well, Danielle, thanks a lot for your story, for your input, for being on the show. It was great to have you. I hope to bring you back again sometime, just to see how things are going, and maybe you have some more advice for us.
Maybe next time as a board certified plastic
surgeon. Excellent. Do you have any future plans after residency already, or are you just going to kind of go through it?
I'm trying to keep an open mind. I know I do want to go into academic plastic surgery, but I also want to have like my own practice. But I'm keeping it open. 6 years is a long time. Yeah. So I'll kind of develop more of my passions as I go through.
Excellent. Well, it was a pleasure having you, and I hope to see you again. Thank you.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
If you haven't already, please rate and review the podcast, share it with your friends, and get this message out there. Because this is a time where a lot of people are skeptical and they're saying, I'm an older grad, I'm an IMG, I have trouble with the USMLEs, there's no way I can compete, what do I do? Well, we want to show you that there is hope. Actually, right now is the best time to match as an IMG. Our match rates have gone up from 48% in 2010 when I graduated medical school to 61% in the 2020 match. That's a significant jump. And as a matter of fact, more than 25% of the U.S. healthcare system is made up of international grads. So know that you can do it. You will do it. Just don't give up. And I hope to see you in the next episode.